So it's not actually legacy technology. Some of the applications that are running on a mainframe are legacy technology, and that's where we have the opportunity
of our clients looking to implement their GenAI based tool in the mainframe.
I think companies, and in my opinion, I think companies need to do.
So wanted to understand, if I'm the client, I'm looking to take this journey, what should be my first step?
Processors versus GPUs, and GPUs are what is being leveraged for machine learning, as these are many cores and these very specialized adapters, and that's every day billions of transactions being processed on the mainframe. And so
does it mean that mainframe is now capable of handling like containers running into the mainframe and all that?
Separate the mindset from the mainframe software to the mainframe hardware.
Hey Rafael, thanks for joining.
Hey Manish, great to see you.
Likewise, Rafael. I wanted to reach out to you for some time now. The reason is I work with a lot of mainframe clients, and with my mainframe clients, what I always hear about, they are trying to modernize their mainframe platform for a long time. In some of the clients talk about, how they can move away from mainframe. And, that was on my mind all the time. But then I came across this report, which Kyndryl published. So we did a survey last year with about 500 mainframe customers. And on that survey, one point which kind of started to think me a little differently about mainframe, where it says that about 86% of our clients said that they want to run the Gen AI tools into their mainframe platform. So kind of I thought, okay, that sounds pretty interesting. And your name came to my mind. I just wanted to reach out to you and try to understand why customers are looking more to implement their Gen AI to the mainframe platform. And another hand, while I was researching in the Google, like what else happening in the mainframe space, and I came across another report. It's with me. It says Market Research Future Report. Here it says that the mainframe market size currently is about 5.3 USD billion dollars in 2024, and 2034 it is expected to become about 8.87, which is about 5.5 CAGR. So just wanted to understand a little bit more. But before we get started, Rafael, a brief introduction of yours, if you can, for my audience, tell me like your experiences in this area.
Sure, Manish. Well, that's a bunch that we need to get through, but from my background, I have a cross-platform experience. Started out in selling distributed systems with IBM, mid-range storage, and then moved up the stack into software operating systems with Red Hat, with RHEL. Red Hat Enterprise Linux, and I also had the opportunity to work with Canonical on Ubuntu Linux when we were. I was there when IBM commissioned Canonical to port Ubuntu onto the mainframe, and so that's. So I started out with Windows, moved into Linux, and ultimately into the mainframe and power systems with Linux, and now recently more direct with the mainframe itself. So that stems about 30 years worth of technical practice.
Why do you think, based on the survey, it's clearly evident that about 86% of our clients looking to implement their Gen AI based tool in the mainframe? And why do you think that significant number lies there?
Well, it certainly is perhaps an industry buzz, right? AI, but it really is important for companies now to be leveraging that type of capability. It helps to augment our own human capability, right? So we're now at the point where we can use tools to help not solve, but do some of the mundane tasks that we might consider, and allow us as humans to continue on to more strategic purposes, right? So I think companies, and in my opinion, I think companies need to do it. There is really no choice but to now keep up with this technology, which is available in the industry, because that's what's going to help these companies keep a competitive edge.
Right. Right. And we know that, if someone is looking to do it, it doesn't mean that it's going to be very easy to do it, right? The reason I wanted to talk to you, you are the technical advisor in Kyndryl. So wanted to understand, if I'm the client, I'm looking to take this journey, what should be my first step?
Well, it involves a lot, right? Because it's really from the ground up. If you have not adopted AI tools, then it's going to take some implementing some process internally to have that skill set, right? From both an operational level all the way to the data science, to the actual programming of these models that drive AI. So there are many companies. So as you say, there's 86% interest, or 86% say they need to get into this. But as part of that survey, and I would urge you to go check out the rest of the survey, it's actually a low number of customers, a low percentage of customers that feel they are ready to do it.
Yeah.
And so that's where there is really a lot of opportunity, not just from the customer end, where they're looking to improve the way that they're doing their own business processes, but also as us as service providers to help these customers to now achieve their goals and make and leverage this new technology that's available to them.
Mainframe always been treated as a legacy platform, and these Gen AI tools or the various tools which are available in the market, they're probably not meant to be implemented in the mainframe. So where's the gap? I mean, is it something I perceive it differently, or there's something more to it?
There's now new technology that's available in the mainframe, and that is this convergence of processor technologies. You have traditional processors versus GPUs, and GPUs are what is being leveraged for machine learning, as these are many cores in these very specialized adapters, and that's really what enables this type of technology, AI and Gen AI. It requires these massively scalable processors, and so what has changed recently and in the Z16 technology and now in the Z Next technology is that this type of processor has been brought into the platform. So Z16, for example, has the Telum processor, and now in the Z Next, we would expect the Telum 2 processor. But that brings in that inferencing technology into the hardware, and that allows us to then now combine certain types of processing that normally we would have to go out to go do the GPU type of processing and bring it back into the mainframe. And so that's where we are now, starting with the Z16 and going forward into whatever platforms IBM brings in the next in their Z Next.
Got you. And what would be the best way? Like you kind of little bit touched upon, taking that out of mainframe platform, bring it back. Can you elaborate that a little bit more, right? What should be the,
Sure.
or rather, let me put the question in this way.
So back to right. Yeah. So back to implementing AI technology and bringing that closer to the mainframe. In order to train, do machine learning, we talk about large language models, LLM. And in order to do that, you're essentially giving the computer a huge amount of information to learn and to train it. And there's different ways of training the computer, right? There's supervised learning, there's unsupervised. And actually most models start with supervised, right? We teach the computer, hey, this is the cat, this is the dog, that's a fence, etc. And then we give it large volumes of data and let the computer itself then tag it. And so that requires huge computational power, not just huge amounts of data, but huge amount of parallel computational power, and that's what GPUs bring to the table. And so until that technology is now here, what we see today is that these large language models are trained on these very large GPU farms. They can be in hyperscalers, or some large scale customers have GPU farms within their own data centers, where they then train their models. They train their large language models, and that's how AI learns. And that's down to this process called inferencing. And so today, a mainframe has a very distinct purpose, which is these handling very highly parallelized workloads, millions of transactions, right, happening per minute. every day, billions of transactions being processed on the mainframe. And so the GPU technology allows us to learn from everything that's happening on the mainframe, and then they train these models and then bring them back into the mainframe where they can run the actual trained model that requires also a GPU type capability. And I'm generalizing here, right? And IBM's technology is the Talon processor. So it's an inferencing processor. And so that allows us to then use these huge computational resources outside the mainframe to learn from all these huge volumes of data that are being created every minute of the day, and then to bring back and train these processes to run on the mainframe to make intelligent decisions about the transactions that are happening in real time.
Mainframe is not just the legacy anymore, right? So Z next, so next gen technology, mainframe is trying to become and trying to cater all the newer things coming into the market.
It's funny because some would say that, oh, the mainframe is a dinosaur, right?
Yeah.
But if dinosaurs were still alive, they would be like the oldest creatures on the planet, and therefore they would be the most evolved. And so, from my perspective, and I think anyone who's really, down to the bits and bytes, the actual computer system, the mainframe, is the most advanced computer system on the planet, right? And that takes us into other topics, which we're not going to get into today.
Yeah.
But encryption, security, right? The hardware itself is designed, it's to be future proof, right? So it's not actually legacy technology. Some of the applications that are running on a mainframe are legacy technology, and that's where we have the opportunity to help customers to modernize these systems, right? But modernizing these systems doesn't necessarily mean you need to change your computer system. It means you need to modernize the application itself to be able to be secure enough, to be performant enough, and to be able to deliver products, new business products that can be delivered to our end users on a more rapid basis. As it seems that, as we go in time seems to go faster and faster. We do more and more business every day. And you mentioned earlier that utilization of the mainframe is actually, it looks like it's going to continue to go up, even as many customers are saying, hey, we're looking at other avenues. It's very interesting because the workload only continues to increase. And that's because as the world, right, we continue to do more and more business, and there are more and more inputs, and there's more and more data. So, we're going to continue to expand. The mainframe is the most advanced computer system on the planet, from my perspective.
So let's modernize it. So, me to the next question, coming to my mind. So, we are now talking about the Gen AI, which is definitely the next gen. But does it mean that mainframe is now capable of handling like containers running into the mainframe and all the newer apps which are being built on the containers? Can we just run them on the mainframe?
So thank you for mentioning that. As we did start this conversation on the concept of Gen AI, and these Gen AI tools now are based on open source development, right? Technologies that are more current. And so that is one of the values that we bring now, that the mainframe brings, is the intersection with open systems technology. And so as we talk about implementing Gen AI on a mainframe, you're going to rely on open source tools. And so that means tools that are not developed on ZOS itself, but Linux and containers. And so, yeah, we're seeing more of an adoption of container technology on the mainframe, and it happens outside of ZOS, and it also happens within ZOS, as you have secure container extensions available within ZOS itself. That means you can run open systems, aka Linux workloads, within ZOS itself. So for example, we can train this model to do fraud detection. That's kind of at the top of the list, right? To be able to score transactions, to make sure that it's a valid transaction. This happens right now in a cycle where the transaction is sent off system to be scored and then brought back, right? So that's changing, because now you have the capability to actually, instead of going outside the mainframe, you can still do that inside the mainframe. You can do that within ZOS if that's the scale that meets your needs. And if you want to implement open systems and perhaps scale that out even further, then you might implement it adjacent to your ZOS workload. And those technologies, that do the AI type machine learning type algorithms, they're designed to run as containers, and so they fit perfectly as containerized workloads right there on the Z adjacent to the data.
Right. And when we talk about mainframe, Rafael, one thing I always used to do mistake is about when we say mainframe, I think about it as a box and then ZOS running it. But I believe the way to think about is segregate these two, right? Can you elaborate a little bit more how to perceive mainframe?
That's a very good point that you make, Manish, and it's important for us to separate the mindset from the mainframe software to the mainframe hardware. And so many of the challenges today for mainframe customers will be cost. And so there is a lot of cost associated to mainframe software. And so we just talk about the whole thing as a mainframe, but the mainframe itself is compatible with open systems technology. So there's a lot of opportunity there to reduce software costs significantly by shifting from traditional ZOS workloads to open systems workloads based on modern operating languages. And granted, Python, Node, these are supported within ZOS today. However, from a scalability perspective and in terms of changing the licensing model, open systems brings a lot of opportunity. And open systems are not free. You still need to get support for these environments, right? So it's not like we're taking you from something that you pay for something that is free just because it's open software. If you're going to have an enterprise based on it, you're still going to need to have supported versions and make sure it's secure, et cetera. And we help to do that. But it is that intersection now of open systems with that hardware. And so at Kyndryl, we are open with our customers as far as helping them to achieve their goals, their business objectives, their technology objectives, to meet their business outcomes, right? So when we talk to customers about modernization, we understand that there are three main patterns. You modernize on, so you do things like optimize the way that you're using those assets. You have a integrate with motion where you're actually combining technologies. So you're integrating with cloud resources, cloud applications, mobile applications that may be doing real-time processing to the mainframe versus batch processing. And then you have the capability for those that see fit to actually move the workload off the mainframe, right? So there are many options there, and we're from our perspective, we work with each customer, and every customer has their own journey. There is really in the mainframe space is very interesting because each customer is, although they may have a common tool set, every environment tends to be unique. And so it really depends on each customer what makes sense, whether it makes sense to take the workload completely off the mainframe or to integrate with the cloud or to modernize on. And by the way, some of these actually involve all three approaches. In terms of getting better ROI, I think the industry analysts might agree that best ROI comes from leveraging multiple platforms. But there are certainly savings depending which way that you go with a mainframe. If you simply get onto your optimization journey, right? What are you going to do? You're going to do something to make it better with what you're doing now, implement automation into the mainframe, right? Infrastructure as code. So it's not just containers, but it's the ability now to do things that are automated, where traditionally we needed sysprogs to go do hands-on keyboard. With the integration with open systems technology and automation for infrastructure as code, you can now do things a lot more efficiently, and especially as we consider things like regulatory compliance. It's going to require more frequent updates and making sure that you're taking a look at your system. You have a 360 view of your system and make sure that you're compliant. All of these technologies really combine today, I think, for a complete picture.
Right. So, Rafael, we are almost at the bottom of the hour on our scheduled time, but the last question, very pointed. Can we run Linux on the mainframe box? Let's say Ubuntu. Can we run it?
Sure. Yeah, that even back to the announcement of Linux 1, I think back in 2015, Linux is a first-class citizen on a mainframe, and you have the choice of multiple Linux vendors, right? So you might hear of the more, popular ones, but you have a range of choice of Linux on a mainframe. And beyond Linux, right? Because we talk about Linux on Z, we also have container technology. So you have the ability to refactor your mainframe applications to microservices. It's a process, right? You're gonna tease these monoliths apart, and you take it a module at a time, and you can now refactor that into microservice directly on a mainframe. Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. Perfect. That's very eye-opening. A lot of new things got to learn, Rafael, as always. Pleasure talking to you, and definitely we touch base again when the next time we talk about the mainframe securities.
Thanks for having me, Manish. Have a great evening.
You too. Take care. Bye now.
Cheers.